Prince Harry started the week as maybe looking somewhat stately, but then turned himself into a fool for a punchline on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And of course, the week has not gone any better for Meghan Markle, despite her very much desperate attempts to salvage her reputation in Us Weekly. It continues to be tarnished as more and more people come out talking about how terrible really she is behind the scenes, apparently, including calling her a demon, a psycho, and as Newsweek also put it, pretty deluded about her own behavior. None of this looks good for Harry and Meghan, especially as they're really trying, I guess, to go about things a different way. We have heard this, that apparently they are going down separate paths. Meghan Markle is going to go down the American Riviera Orchard, winding Yellow Brick Road to see if it ever turns a profit. Prince Harry apparently is still going to try to do the cosplay royal thing, while apparently also being the fool when people need it in order to make money. Yes, Harry and Meghan are aimless, pretty much hopeless seemingly at this point, and devoid of seemingly any talent. And of course, like I said, this is going to lead them to ruin because the Prince Harry bit on The Tonight Show was really bad. The things that have been saying about Meghan Markle in the media are pretty bad. And her attempt to salvage her reputation has just made things, I think, 1,000 times worse. Harry and Meghan are truly their own enemies. I mean, they are just the gift that keeps on giving. So we are going to examine a little bit of this gift today and what was said specifically in Newsweek, which has, I think, some really interesting bits from a PR perspective on how bad things are for Meghan, and then look a little bit at Prince Harry's activities in New York, because honestly, I didn't follow it much because there wasn't much there to follow. But the Jimmy Fallon thing, Harry and Meghan's inability to put forth a cohesive PR message is just abysmally bad. So it is worthy of discussion. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide you all compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. We have such great fun here. And I was very excitingly, because I will get this out this evening, is the plan. I was on Dan Wooten Outspoken today. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, feel free to click the link up above. I will link the video right here. So I would love to have you guys check it out. It was such fun. And I am looking forward to hopefully being on there again. And I did want to mention as well that it is only about like 16, well, it closes on October 16th. So if you are thinking about the Christmas market trip, if you're interested in that, so we are going to Germany and the Czech Republic. We are making stops in Berlin, Dresden, and Prague for some of the most gorgeous Christmas markets in Europe. You have only about 3 weeks to sign up if you are interested before that trip officially closes, and we are all done and heading out. We have a great group together, and people have such fun on these trips. I've had people who've gone 3 and 2 times, and we have some people coming for their first time. So it is going to be such fun, such a great atmosphere. I cannot wait, and we will do as much as we can. So it's as somebody described it, it is museums, castles, and Christmas. How can you get any better than that? I don't think you can. So again, if you guys are thinking about it, considering it, and it will be done in time for Christmas. It ends officially on December 22nd. So if you need to get home in time for Christmas, because I like actually being home on Christmas. I don't mind traveling around Christmas, but I want to be home for Christmas. Feel free to check out the link up above. Again, if you are interested, we are love to have you join us. Okay. It has been a weird, strange, crazy, bad week for Harry and Meghan. Like really bad. Of course, you have the continual breakdown of Meghan's public reputation between, you have, of course, starting with the Hollywood Reporter a couple weeks ago. Then you have Us Weekly trying to salvage things, but making things worse. And then you have the Daily Beast. And now there's also this pretty interesting news week. But let's start off with Harry. Harry was in New York. And honestly, guys, I didn't cover much of it. Why? Because it looked really dull. Because Harry has nothing to say. That's the thing. Harry really has nothing to say. He has nothing to do. He has absolutely nothing to give any of these organizations other than 15 minutes so they can maybe get some more eyeballs on it. That is the only thing he offers. That's the only thing he offers. And I wanted to take maybe a moment here because I watched part of it, got bored with it, and sort of tuned it out because, of course, again, he has really nothing to say on this matter. And that is talking about the Parents Network at the Clinton Initiative. So why do I point this out? Because Number one, he starts talking about Sputnik, which I thought was really funny because I would bet you bottom dollar he had no clue what Sputnik was or actually its importance until somebody told him and put it in a speech for him. Because Sputnik, if you don't know, I actually learned this as part of my own historical research. What was the big thing about Sputnik? Just in case you were wondering, it was a satellite that was launched into space, and now he's connecting it to the internet. But what was actually interesting for my application, because I did some work on the historical development of the atomic bomb, is that because of the ability to launch something into space, all of a sudden the reality of intercontinental ballistic missiles became something that's to be feared. And so the whole initiative of building the highway system in the United States, which was to help evacuate the East Coast in case Soviet planes were coming over with atomic bombs, became somewhat useless because if you have an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, you can shoot something from anywhere. Isn't that interesting? That's not what Harry's talking about, though. He's talking about, and again, I don't think he knows any of that because, yeah, he's talking about the parents' network. And we won't go into too much of this, but really, at the end of the day, what I have an issue with Harry and Meghan here on these type of issues regarding internet safety is that really what they're advocating for is censorship, and that they're asking for outside places to put barriers on information because there's misinformation out there. So we have to combat the misinformation. People can be dumb. That is actually, people are allowed to be dumb. So if you want to believe the earth is flat, I mean, I will think you're stupid, but you have the right to believe that. And that's the reality of free speech. People around you can share misinformation. The burden is on you to determine what the truth is. And the same thing is true here with what they're advocating for via the parents networks going, it's so sad what has happened to these children and families. The answer is, we need to fix the internet, not maybe that there might be a parenting aspect in here. I mean, from what we've seen so far of Harry and Meghan, they just give their kids a tablet and walk away. Like there's no safeguards on it or anything because apparently that is the internet's job to do, not their own. So I will watch this probably, and I'll just probably take little bits and talk about it. But this again is Harry trying to look important. And this is important to establish. He's trying to make these great inroads and initiatives and everything. But then we'll see where he ends the week. And then the question becomes, did he undermine his whole trip by how it ended? And again, this goes back to something we'll discuss that was in the Hollywood Reporter article, because the Hollywood Reporter article every day is being proven more and more true. So let's take a listen to, again, at least part of this, not all of this. And I will also speed up the time because time is money, guys. And honestly, I don't think he knows anything about Sputnik.
Over the course of our history, humankind has dared to exceed the limitations of possibility.
So I will say, starting off with, the stupid analogy to space doesn't work here. Doesn't work here because the analogy to space is about human ingenuity and the risks of it. Is really the analogy, I think, to space. And then he's trying to equate it with social media and that we need censorship because social media is too dangerous without it. Not that there is an actual human component, which is called, and he sort of ignores it here, which is kind of interesting when he gets into it. He ignores this thing called self-control. You have to exercise this thing called self-control. And if you exercise that type of thing, maybe social media, like I've seen people who have dropped a smartphone and just use basically a bare bones basics phone. Some people who don't download the social media apps or have deleted all their social medias. So there is an element of control here, Harry. The burden's not on the company, the burden is on you. And that's hard. I get it. That's hard. That's hard because that requires you to do and put in some work and effort. I know that's really, really hard for you. Really, really hard.
And so I stand before you today to speak about the pervasive threat that our online world poses to us.
So yes, there is a threat of the online world. But what Harry's also missing here is that the online world, the threat will always exist because humans exist. Do you know why there's still war? Do you know why there's still famine and poverty? Do you know why there's still all these horrible, horrendous things in the world? The reason is human beings. Human beings are the problem with the internet, not the internet. That's just the truth. It's the human beings, the humans behind it. That is the problem. And you cannot fix humanity. Ergo, you cannot fix the internet. Wouldn't it be great if the internet was perfect? It's not. Why? Because there's human beings who are on the internet. That's just the reality, Harry.
In an age where our lives are intertwined with technology, we cannot afford to only see the online world as a space for profitability, competition, and rapid growth.
But that's what the internet is, Harry. That is what the internet is, in part, because it is a business like everything else. It's like Harry and Meghan have no concept of business, which is reflected in their horrifically bad business practices and business management. They don't understand business. If you don't understand business, you don't understand how these companies work. So how can you criticize them when you have even no idea how they work? It just doesn't make any sense.
Instead, we must come together to ensure the digital space is one that fosters well-being, connection, and hope.
So I did think it was funny. Every event he went to, he changed out his lapel pin, which I thought was a bit ridiculous, just saying.
These challenges are compounded by the relentless spread of unreliable and unfounded information, leaving many feeling isolated, confused, and scared.
I have an issue with this. I hate the drive towards, oh, we got to fix misinformation out there. Misinformation has always existed. It's like ubiquitous across humanity. It's always been there. It is your job as a consumer to evaluate the information and by your own intelligence determine what is true and what is false. Yes, you can rely on some experts to give you some of that information too. But I always put the burden on my audience. You can believe me or not. It's totally up to you. Look at my research. Did I compel you or not? If I didn't, then hey, that's fine. I shared my piece and that's it. But Harry and Meghan, again, they have this very diluted thinking here where they want to like fix humanity or something. I just don't get it. Like, what? Okay. It's like one of those things where it's just so annoying because it's so incredibly stupid. It is so incredibly stupid, pointless, so many different things. And yes, maybe you're scared because of misinformation, but you guys are also purveyors of misinformation. Your wife lied a lot to Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey, I don't think likes you too much because of that now. And that is on you, Harry. All you had to do was tell the truth. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And again, people do misspeak. There is misinformation out there. Of course, misspeaking and misinformation are two different things. But there is a danger in putting the burden on some sort of organization to determine what is truth and what is false. That can quickly spin out of control into basically there's no way to get any information. Governments, people in power, they want to stranglehold the information you get because that gives them a certain level of power. And that is what Harry is advocating and Meghan are advocating for. And it is so incredibly dangerous. In Harry's world, my channel wouldn't exist because it goes against his narrative. And that's what he's advocating for. He doesn't want people to go against his narrative. Same thing with this whole misinformation shtick. He doesn't want people to go and share something that is not approved or true or stuff, but it's like, who determines what is truth then? Because then that's a whole different question. Because I guarantee you, especially in the United States here with a very polarized election, there are two different sides oftentimes who do have, well, this is my truth, this is your truth. There's a very few things anymore. Objective truth is very, very hard to find. And even people who are claiming to be purveyors of objective truth are biased and showing a biased version of the truth. So the best thing is for a diverse group of voices to exist and for, again, the burden to be on the consumers of the information to determine what is true, what is false. That was part of a history class I took in grad school, one of the best classes probably I ever had. And I continue to use it all the time. How do you evaluate information? One of the best lessons I ever learned is how to do that, how to know the biases of the people, how to know maybe if they're missing information and stuff like that. I can go through something. I can pretty quickly tell you, oh, they're missing this, they're missing that. They come at it from a certain perspective, which means they're missing out on things because yes, we're all as human beings not perfect. But again, the burden should be on you. You as a viewer, you guys, I don't want to say hold me to account, but I share the information. It is your choice whether or not you believe it. And that is how things should be.
These are not distant problems. They're epidemics currently testing our resolve, and they cannot be ignored. My lock
Oh gosh, this is so dumb. This is so dumb.
screen is a picture of my kids.
Well, what else would it be, Harry? Do we care? No. No.
What's yours?
Oh, it's so dumb. And it's so preachy. What's your lock screen?
These children and thousands more meant the world to their families. The beautiful faces you see before you, their smiles, their dreams, all lost. All too soon, and all because of social media.
Again, there are a variety of situations here, the answer is not killing social media or putting so many safeguards on social media it can't function. The answer is, I would say in this case, a lot of parental involvement, which doesn't even seem to be the points of Parents Network, because like one of their first stipulations, and I can't remember quite what it says, but basically this happened to you, not because of you. You had nothing to do with what happened to your child, basically. And that is the approach Harry is taking. And I think it's such a dangerous, terrible, horrible approach here, because as parents, you have a huge level of power and you can exert it over your children until at least they're 18. Beyond that, it's a question, but you have a lot of power. And he's actually taking power from people by telling them basically, well, they have no power to control the internet. And so basically, you just leave it out there and whatever happens, happens. I mean, again, think about the danger of telling young parents that, oh, just give your kid a tablet. If something happens, it's the internet's fault. Well, maybe the fault is that you gave your kid a tablet and you didn't watch them. That could also be, I think that's within your power. I don't think necessarily that's the internet's fault. So again, I dislike strongly the message he's pushing here, and I think it's utterly a disservice to use a family's loss to push his own agenda.
It's why we launched the Parents Network, a global community that provides crucial support to parents whose children have suffered from the harmful effects of social media.
Well, again, and I will say too, this is not to help these parents and families. It's to help Meghan Markle because she doesn't like that the internet says bad things about her. Or negative things about her, you could say. Hence, the entire Us Weekly article, which was terrible, horrible.
Our platform provides opportunity for parents to turn their pain into purpose, ultimately changing the very system that stole their child.
So if I'm getting Harry right here, they're literally taking the grief of these parents and helping turn it into their own spearhead to try to force social media companies to stop any negative talk about Harry and Meghan. That's despicable. That really is despicable, because this Parents Network thing, unfortunately, I just don't think it has much purpose, really. I understand giving parents a community to come together and talk and different things. But at the same time, too, it's like to use their pain and purpose to punish social media platforms for what happened to their children. And he goes on here. And again, we may go over the whole thing and I wasn't planning on it, but talking about how all these social media platforms, everything must be held to an account. And it's like, but there's so many factors here that I think Harry does not even consider, can't even fathom, that it's really pathetic.
These platforms are designed to create addiction. Young people are kept there by mindless, endless, numbing scrolling, being force-fed content that no child should ever be exposed to.
I just gotta wonder too, do Harry and Meghan do that? Because I think Meghan does a lot of that too, Harry. Mindless scrolling and everything. Because she made sure in that Us Weekly article to go over every negative point about herself.
It's not free will.
But that's the thing, Harry. This is about free will. Yes, it can set up addictions, but like any addict, it's the addict's job to get out of that addiction, actually. No addict can change the addiction until they make the choice and they take the steps to stop the addiction. That's the truth. And that requires an element of free will. If you are addicted to the internet, if you're addicted to your phone, it's your job actually to make the choices to figure out either a different way to live, a different route. Like you have to make those choices. It's not the company's responsibility. That just creates an internet big brother. It's your job. It's your job.
I, like many of you, did not grow up with a phone. Young people today possess an incredible understanding of technology that older generations may struggle to grasp.
Okay, so he's basically admitting they're giving their kids a phone as soon as humanly possible. You don't have to give your kids a phone, You don't have to give them a smartphone. You can make the parenting choice here, Harry. Oh, so terrible.
We must listen to their experiences, understand their perspectives, and provide them with the resources that they need to navigate and shape the digital world.
So I always am skeptical of anyone who says, oh, let's just let the younger generations figure it out, is essentially what he's advocating. And I think sometimes the older generations, even though they don't understand the internet quite as much, they can say, well, you know what? We didn't have a phone. Maybe, you could go without a phone. That's an option. Again, Harry's putting the entire burden on somebody else. He's taking zero responsibility, and he's telling others to take zero responsibility, which is a horrid piece of advice, especially for young parents. Don't take any, technology is everywhere. all of our kids have phones and tablets and everything, and we're not responsible. I mean, he's so lacking in depth on this issue and masking it in lives of children who have been lost. I mean, it's really utterly despicable.
something that we keep at the core of our work. We must raise them to know that IQ without EQ will always fall short. We must provide them with spaces to innovate and advocate for solutions that prioritize safety, respect, and empathy.
Again, Harry, I know this is a hard concept for you, but human beings are sometimes not so great. Yeah. Yeah, we live in a fallen world. It's pretty bad sometimes. Just taking a great example of how you've treated your family. That's a great example of it. So, yeah, not so great. Not so great. Yeah, he talked a bit there. I think I probably got it out about you not only need an intelligence, but emotional intelligence. He's lacking actually the actual intelligence, and I think some of the emotional intelligence too here.
And while we embolden both youth and parents to be in the conversation, we must also hold those in power accountable.
Again, hold those in power accountable. But he takes no accountability. He doesn't want any accountability. His wife doesn't want any accountability for anything they've ever done. But no, we need to hold everyone else accountable. Again, there is such a danger here in creating basically social media overlords that determine what you see on a day-to-day basis. Again, such danger there.
The first ever global ministerial meeting focused on ending violence to children will take place in Colombia this November. And it is where, for the first time, there can be global agreement on prioritizing child safety and protection online.
There is no such thing as a global agreement, Harry. That is absurd. Global laws are broken all the time, even if do exist. Give me a break. The idea of some global law initiative thing, talk about Big Brother. That's absolute insanity. That's not how the world works. That's just crazy speak from crazy people.
Our laws and regulations are different state to state, country to country.
Well, no duh. So yeah, your little fantasy thing doesn't work here, Harry.
May have different backgrounds, viewpoints, beliefs, and even access to the internet itself. But the one thing that we can universally agree on is the safety of our children. So why do the leaders of these insanely powerful social media companies still refuse to change? Why are we holding them to the lowest ethical standards?
Because they're not ethical. They're companies. The idea that companies can be ethical, I think, is a bit of a stretch. Yes, they can be, but honestly, it's a company. It's a corporation. Corporations are pretty soulless because they're there to make money, and that is their purpose. If nothing makes money, like you and your wife, then the world can't function. People have to make money. It's like these sad like this guy lives in a deluded fantasy world with him and his wife. It's just really pathetic. And so that anybody's giving him any applause for any of this is a joke.
In any other circumstance, a business would commit all resources to fixing the bug.
No, that's not how it works, Harry. And it's not a bug. This is how they make their money. They need to keep people on these sites longer. But it's also, again, that personal decision. I would love to actually delete Twitter, but I use it a lot for work, so I have to keep it. I kind of hate Twitter, though, but I still keep it. That's just kind of life.
Instead of providing parents with more tips and tricks for navigating hostile environments, shareholders need to demand change.
No, that's crazy speak from a crazy, deluded man.
Surely, none of us want to live in a world where there is no consequence or accountability.
Well, he certainly lives in a world with no accountability, no consequences. Well, I mean, he's dealing with the consequences now. He and his wife have had a pretty bad week. They've had a really, really bad week. So, yeah, him and his wife, no, they don't want to deal with any consequences of their decisions. They blame everybody else for their problems instead of taking accountability. Again, this guy has no clue how the real world functions.
Parenting doesn't end at birth of a child. Neither does founding a company.
That's stupid analogy. As stupid as Megan says, oh, the internet's like the car. That's dumb. That is just dumb. So that is honestly as stupid too. Your parenting doesn't end when you give birth. Is that what he said again? Let's just make sure I got that right. Because I remember seeing that the first time. I remember thinking, well, that doesn't make a ton of sense.
World where there is no consequence or accountability. Parenting doesn't end at birth of a child.
I think you should say parenting doesn't end when the child turns 18. That would actually make more sense. Why would you say parenting doesn't end when you give birth to the child? That doesn't even make any sense. It's when parenting begins. That's when actual parenting begins. Is at the birth of the child. Oh gosh, poor Harry.
Neither does founding a company. Whether parent or CEO, we have a duty and a responsibility to see our creations through.
What? Are you joking? What? Oh, so much dumb is being spoken at one time. Oh, that's just so hard. It's just so hard. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. Oh, kid versus a corporation. Oh, that's just so bad. That's just so bad. Oh gosh.
If corporations unabashedly lack responsibility, it doesn't mean we should do the same.
Well, and it's what's kind of dumb is he's saying, well, parenting does doesn't end at the birth of a child. And then he's also in a way, okay, I think I maybe get the analogy a little bit more, but still it's not a great analogy. But anyways, but what's ironic is that he doesn't he's wanting to hold the companies accountable, but he's making an analogy to parenting and he doesn't want to hold the parents accountable. Now, this is not about blaming the parents if something happens to their child online. This is just recognizing that maybe parenting decisions have an impact on what children have access to when and how that impacts them. If you give your kid an iPhone when they're 6 and don't really ever keep an eye on them with it, you should not be surprised maybe if something bad happens. Now, if you don't give your kid an iPhone at 6, you give it to them when they're 18 or something and you keep a pretty tight control over them till then because they are your child, then you might not have a problem because you've actually seen your creation to fruition. I feel like, again, Harry and Meghan are telling us right now they give their iPhones to kids and then just let them wander off with a tablet or something. Maybe iPad is a better example, but they literally just get their kids iPads and walk away. It's like the impression they're getting, which I don't think they probably do, but I'm also wondering if they do.
Their platforms may be under our fingertips, but we have the fate of the future, their future, in our hands. When many in our world today seem to conflate opinion as fact and fact as opinion.
Do what? What about Meghan saying that you guys got married 3 days before your wedding? Was that a fact or the opinion or a deluded fantasy or just a lie to tell Oprah? What was that, Harry? Because it wasn't the truth. You knew it. You knew it. You put your head down. You tried to avoid looking at your wife as she tried to explain to Oprah Winfrey how you guys got married a couple of days before your wedding, which the Archbishop of Canterbury had to recant. Again, you were a hypocrite. And so you can't spout this nonsense and not take accountability for your own bits of misinformation.
We have to work hard to seek and reveal truth.
Truth? Really, Harry? What about the staff members revealing the truth of your wife? Don't think you want that truth.
For as long as we're debating over lies, we will forever be divided.
Well, we will also be divided if we're not allowed to debate the lies, if that makes sense. Because what happens within this world of just information is that you have to debate sometimes different sides of things to maybe come to a consensus. That's actually healthy to debate. It's actually healthy to maybe have misinformation on both sides because maybe a debate can reveal truth. But if you only are saying one side deserves to be heard, that is an inherently dangerous thing.
And when so much of our future is uncertain, we need to meet global insecurity with compassion rather than hate.
Global insecurity with compassion rather than hate. What? Gosh, this makes no sense.
Inclusivity and equity are not optional.
But they're also not reality. Equity means equal outcome. You will not get equal outcome. Two people can have the iPhone. One person becomes addicted to it. The other person doesn't. That's not about equity. They both have the same iPhone. So they have equity, right? In terms of they both have iPhones, but they have an unequal outcome. That is called equality because not everybody's going to do everything. Harry and Meghan basically are advocating for automatons. They want you to be an automaton who does basically whatever they say you should do or whatever particular either political persuasion or philosophical persuasion wants you to do. Equity is fantasy delusion. It is. You are not going to guarantee equal opportunity of outcome because if equity was real, everyone who started a royal channel would have the same number of subscribers as me or anybody who started a YouTube channel. That's one of the easiest analogies because guess what? Not everyone's going to pop off on social media, but we all have the equality in terms of we all have the opportunity to do it, but we all don't have the possibility of a strong outcome. It requires a lot of different things. And of course, that is life too. You're never going to be guaranteed inclusion or equity. That's just, again, deluded fantasy. And it's actually better to not think that way because then you're not disappointed when things don't happen for you. And honestly, I think most of society is kind of moving away from that proposition anyway. So they look very behind the times pushing for something like that. And to be fair to Harry, he may not know the difference between equity and equality. He might not.
They are the bedrock upon which we must build our communication
Because honestly, as well, Meghan might have written this whole thing. Wouldn't be surprised.
and community. And fear, orchestrated at the highest levels, needs to be seen for what it is, a tactic to mask indifference and a failure to seek real solutions.
That is dumb. That, again, not that, oh gosh, what did he say again? Let's look at it again. Misinformation is a tactic to mask indifference and create fear. Well, Harry, I'm fearful of you and what you want to do to this world, to be quite honest. Actually, the person I fear most right now is you because you're advocating for essentially 19, what is it, 89 or whatever. You're basically advocating for a totalitarian dictatorship under the guise of your wife, Meghan Markle, because she doesn't like people who talk bad about her on the internet or talk negatively, I should say. Because he's basically advocating for Big Brother because he doesn't like people saying negative things about himself or his wife on the internet. That's basically what this guy is saying. So the person I actually fear most here is somebody deluded like Harry. He's the scariest thing because it's a deluded fool, but he does have people who listen to him from time to time.
This journey. We need platforms that mirror our highest values, designed with safety in mind.
Highest values, like his highest values. Again, he lives in a bubble, has no idea or concept of people who think differently than him. And he wants to demand and control how information is received and processed. Again, it's very scary stuff here.
But in the meantime, we can't wait. Our kids can't wait. We need to create programs that teach digital literacy, emotional intelligence, and critical thinking.
Yes, which you actually lack. So I think the first person to take that should probably be you, Harry, just saying.
We need to equip our youth with the skills they need to identify and combat online threats. We need a better digital future, one that we all deserve.
But again, humanity is kind of a cessless pool. I mean, Twitter is, I kind of say it's the third level of hell, and it is. Why? Because people are on it. You know, there's so much depravity on the internet. Why? Because people are people. That's just kind of the truth here, Harry. So unless you are going to fix humanity, you're not going to fix anything. You're just spinning your wheels looking like a fool. And we'll get to when you really became a fool this week. It's fun.
We were promised a human experience. Instead, we've been a human experiment.
You did get the human experience, Harry, because that is humanity. I know you live in a bubble, but that actually is humanity. It's not so pretty. It's not so pretty.
This is an invitation to each and every one of you to open your eyes, ears, and hearts to these realities and to channel our power, resources, and intelligence toward meaningful action.
So my wife has a better experience on the internet. Yep.
All we have today in this moment stems from the defiance of boundaries we once thought existed. We've split the atom. We've walked on the moon. We are more than equipped to tackle this.
No, because those are different things, actually. Because splitting an atom is a scientific experiment. Going to the moon is a scientific experiment, basically. The internet is not a scientific experiment in that way. It's kind of like the stupid analogy Meghan made between the internet and a car. A car is a physical object that has no, basically, intelligence, really. The internet is humanity, and humanity is not pretty. You see that acted out every single day around the world. Happens every single day. Horrific, horrific things. I have bookshelves of history throughout here that can tell you how bad humanity is. We're not any better. We just put it on the internet now. Yeah, we're still the same people we were 100 years ago, 200, 300, 4,000 years ago. We're still essentially the same people because the sin has not changed. The technology has. So now we put all our awfulness on the internet instead of making like inappropriate statues or inappropriate like hieroglyphs in like Egypt or something. We now just put it all on the internet. But you know, pornography has always existed in various forms. Yeah. I remember watching something on the History Channel. I want to say it was like History After Dark or something like that. And I'm like going through the museum and basically all the X-rated material was in the basement of the museum because they couldn't display it. And I found that really funny and it just stuck in my mind. I don't even remember the program or anything, but I just remember that. I remember thinking, wow, yeah, we really haven't changed. But again, now it's not in the basement of a museum. Now it's on the internet for everyone to see because humanity hasn't changed. Yeah, you can still go to a Pompeii and see a brothel. You know what they say, prostitution is the oldest career in the world. So it still exists 5,000 years ago. It still exists now. So humanity hasn't really changed. So again, deluded fool out there for everybody to see. But he is talking, you could say, a good game. So I think this is it.
The future of our world and our youth depend on it. We all just need to want it enough. And I know that I do. Thank you.
So that is it. Not really much from Harry here, but here's the thing. He was attempting to look like a statesman. He was attempting to make inroads and show how him and Meghan are trying to move and shake things up, because they want to change. They want to make the world a better place. But here's where things went awry. Because Harry did then something very, very dumb, which is go on Jimmy Fallon and his Tonightmares thing. I guess this is something new. And I like how somebody took out this person and put Meghan Markle's head in. I think that's pretty good. And this is dumb. It is so incredibly dumb. Now, here's what's funny is you could watch the Parents Network, and I'm sure some people may have been impressed by it. I think it was a bunch of gobbledygook, like nothingness. But some people might have been impressed by that. But then you get here. So he has been doing all these things where he looks somewhat stately. And then he does this. Harry. Oh my gosh. This was just bad. And again, this goes back to what we heard in the Hollywood Reporter article, which is like they can't make good decisions. If you are trying to be stately, what you don't want to do is make yourself the fool on Jimmy Fallon right after that, because those two images don't coalesce. You can go on Jimmy Fallon, do an interview, but your job is not there to promote his new attraction at the Tonight Show. That's not your job. And maybe he got paid for it and that's why he did it. But you just undermined an entire week's of work in the public eye to make yourself the fool. And Meghan Markle did this too on Ellen DeGeneres, especially with that very, very stupid decision to do this very undignified squat because Ellen DeGeneres told her to wear cat ears, drink milk from a bottle, like dumb stuff, to be the butt of the joke. And on here, he swore. We'll try to watch a little bit of it, but I don't think we'll really be able to watch much because of copyright issues. But he swore, they bleeped it out, but it's like, how undignified. And honestly, too, this was so dumb and bad. It was so bad.
A very special guest, Prince Harry. Harry, thank you for doing this. Are you easily scared?
Not normally, but today might be different.
All right, let's see.
Let's go.
Here we go.
So this is just so dumb. It's so dumb. And they're so overdoing it. It's just like really dumb. Let's see if we can get a section here.
Very rare breed.
You look great. Go on.
Thank you.
It's like so fake. And Harry, of course, he's overdoing it the whole time because he's acting or attempting to act. He's not very good at it.
That actually got it.
And he just does this nervous, giggly, girly laugh. And it's just so lame. It's so lame. The only cute part was when a couple of the people were like, oh my gosh, that's Prince Harry. So let's go ahead and get out when he just dropped the F-bomb. It's so tacky. It's so tacky. And again, if you are a celebrity person, lower on the totem pole, you could say, then this might be fine. But he's royalty and literally trying to be a cosplay royal and then playing the part of a D-list actor trying to get a little bit of attention because, oh my gosh, they got invited on Jimmy Fallon and they had to make the most of it. That's just so bad. And there was a bit here. Let's try to watch a little bit of this. Because again, I'm worried about copyright, so we can't watch too much of it. But there was something one of the members of the Sussex squad said. I was like, are you out of your mind?
Thank you so much for doing that. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so he mocks to punch the person or whatever in the thing behind. And somebody goes, well, take note, paparazzi and British press. That's how Harry's going to treat you. And I'm like, with violence? Really? Like, these are already the people championing, oh, Meghan made somebody cry, grown men cry. Oh, how great is Meghan? And it's like, but that's not good. And then he's like, so he's going to punch people he doesn't like? Like, that's not good either. This, again, doesn't work. And it goes back to what the Hollywood Reporter talked about, which I think is so critical, which is that they make the wrong decisions and Meghan can't take advice. And they change their minds all the time. And you see that all between those two bits he did. On the one hand, he is trying to be stately, trying to influence things, all this stuff. And then on the other side here, he's cursing, making fun, and acting like a fool. Nobody from the UN would go and do Jimmy Fallon. They would do an interview, but they wouldn't go and do the joke thing. And it's just not a good look. It shows a lack of discipline in terms of their public image. It shows that they can't make the right decisions in terms of what they want their public image to be. It goes along with the thing I've talked about, how they have no overarching vision. So they jump from thing to thing to thing to thing because there's no cohesion. And you see that. You see that 100%. And it's just something that's not good going forwards because they right now desperately need cohesion because obviously they have been dealing with it this week for sure. And so we also had this bit from Newsweek and Jack Royston, who has been mostly a very pro-Sussex guy in the media, talking about how basically Meghan's bullying saga is a smoking crater on her reputation. And it is. And there was actually some really good quotes from this PR expert who he talked to here. And it's really, really devastating. And it goes to show again that Harry's going on Jimmy Fallon shows that they don't understand how serious this is and how to salvage things. So they talked to this guy, Eric Schiffer, and he said, Meghan's challenges are immense because this now is a pattern of behavior outside of Britain that calls into question a level of horrible incompetence in leadership. That is a fantastic bit, a horrible level of incompetence in leadership. She is a horribly incompetent leader. She is. You see this reflected in every single mistake decision they made post-Mexit. Especially, I would go again to say one of their biggest ones recently has just been American Riviera Orchard, especially her. This is her whole thing. We even heard in Us Weekly. It's not attached to any of their projects, joint projects together. It's solely her thing. And it's a mess because she made it a mess because she demonstrated a horrible level of incompetence by launching it too early, not having a plan, not having the trademarks, not having anything. And now too, you got to wonder, she has this television show. And the television show, I'm sure, is going to be selling products from American Riviera Orchard. But what if a product, let's say it's the jam. Let's say she doesn't get the right approval for the label of the jam. And she's using this jam with this particular label. But she can't use that actual label when she sells the products. I mean, that kind of incompetence is just massive. And it's just not going to play well. And he goes on to say she is now seen as the enemy of staffers who are fleeing because of the devastating environment, none of which is good for Meghan when she is still recovering from reputational damage from across the pond. But that is because she's made those decisions. These are current allegations. West says that she's either painfully deluded about her own behavior, which I think is 1,000% true. She's a narcissist. She doesn't realize how she's treating people because it's all about her. She cannot comprehend people might react negatively to what she does. Or there's a series of people who are choosing to lie to reporters, which does not ring true as true. I actually think people are lying to reporters, or at least telling them just a version of the truth. I firmly believe, this is just my opinion, that in the Us Weekly piece, people who had talked to the Hollywood Reporter also talked to Us Weekly, but only told a variation of the truth because they were under threat from Meghan. You either tell and go on the record, or I will know it was you who talked to the Hollywood Reporter. And they're like, okay. So they told things that were technically true, but not necessarily good things. It says the scandalabra she's facing is not just a smoking crater on a reputation, but now begins to draw into question her judgment and her ability to control herself and her behavior. And I think that's 1,000%. He goes on to say the Hollywood Reporter has great credibility. It does, and authority in reporting accurately the inner workings and behind the scenes truth of many of the most prominent people within entertainment. And their reporting is relied upon and looked to as a credible source of reliable information, both by leaders within the industry, but also other respected media organizations. Meghan's pushback is textbook crisis management, where she will leverage staffers that may have had a different perspective or loyalty to her. I actually don't believe that. I don't believe this is textbook crisis management in terms of a PR person helping her. This is Meghan's version of textbook crisis management, which adds an additional crisis because now there's more eyes on the story. She's put more eyes on the story by trying to refute it badly. It was bad the way she did it. It highlighted the fact that Archewell is a highly dysfunctional organization where its employers, the people who are leading it, treat their staff members overbearingly like family in a creepy way, incessantly contacting a woman after she's had surgery to see how she's doing. I mean, do we really know that? Or was she seeing how quickly Lindsay could get back to work by pressuring her husband? I think somebody had it very right when they said her husband, Lindsay's in this case, might have actually been screening the calls or text messages or whatever Meghan was sending Lindsay to help Lindsay recover by keeping Meghan Markle out of the picture. But Meghan Markle, of course, is overbearing. They send presents in, deliver them to people's doorsteps, including a dog leash and collar for no inexplicable reason, really. Because I'm sure if you've got a dog, you can afford a leash and collar. If you can't, then I don't know what to tell you. And obviously, that they just seem to have endless meetings with no results. You see the inefficiency played out publicly. And so you can understand that, yes, there's inner workings that are not well. And I don't care if those people went on the record. I don't believe that they've told the full story either. They can tell part of the story and still be true and still be talking to all three sides here. That's what's fascinating about this, which is why, again, it was really stupid for her to go out in a not as reputable publication like Us Weekly, because even those in the entertainment industry know that Us Weekly is less reliable than Hollywood Reporter. If she couldn't get that story to run in other more reputable publications, why Us Weekly? And does it dilute from what was said in the Hollywood Reporter, which I think was a much better put together article just overall? The Meghan article was terrible. It was terrible. It was terribly written. It was just sort of awfully put together, but it screams Meghan and her wanting to massage a crisis her way. So he continues, that will allow her to reshape the narrative somewhat versus just one side where there's no pushback. It's actually made the narrative that has been put forth by the Hollywood Reporter even more accurate. So actually, I don't think it helped at all. Actually, I think she should have left it to a PR professional rather than trying to do it herself. Either way, having a second set of allegations outside Britain where there's now a pattern is like the plague for her, where she's trying to show none of the original allegations were true. Yes, she's trying to show that none of the original allegations were true. It was all a concoction by the British media. But now we know pretty much it wasn't, which was always a supposition, because although the Sussex Squad and other people who like Harry and Meghan tried to disregard the British media, the original bullying allegations were not in a tabloid. They were in basically the equivalent of the Wall Street Journal or New York Times. They were in the Times of London. This was a highly reputable publication. I've interviewed Valentine Lowe. He is fantastic. Very much I would say more of a true journalist, where I'm sure he has a bit of his biases, but he's pretty straight-laced in many ways. He didn't go fully on the negative Harry and Meghan bandwagon, but he said what he saw, which was that a couple who seemed to have a real hatred for the media treated them poorly in addition to their staff. Because if they're treating the media poorly, they're treating their staff poorly too. Let's be honest. Patterns begin to then create questions that go to character, and that is dangerous at a time when she is trying to ensure her personal brand and together as a couple is one that could be looked at in an elevated fashion. And here's the thing. None of this would be hitting, I think, Harry and Meghan quite so hard, except for the fact that they haven't produced material. Harry and Meghan's crutch is that they are incompetent at content creation. That is just abysmally clear as time has gone on. They're really, 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 really bad at it. Their documentaries, the three of them, have both been pretty poor. One of them was so bad, I didn't even watch it to review it because it looked so dismal. The Heart of Invictus, I got more traction on my reaction video than Harry got in his series. So I wasn't promoted on Netflix. I just literally put it on YouTube and tried to title it well. And I got 100,000 more views than Harry did. And that was over 4 months. I got my 400,000 in a month or less than a month. And it took him 4 months to hit 300,000. So 100,000 less than me. And it took him 4 months to do so. Now we watched that. Obviously, their Harry and Meghan documentary, we don't know the exact numbers on that because Netflix did not publish for the last half of 2022. But I imagine they were very good. And that's not a surprise because it lifted the veil off the monarchy. But here's the thing. The only thing that has made Harry and Meghan money, really, is riffing off the monarchy. They have yet to do the thing they need to do, regardless of if they stay together, go apart in terms of their professional lives, whatever. What they have failed completely to do time and time and time and time again is establish what they are in terms of business or entertainers within the industry. Are they documentarians? Are they producers? Are they, I don't know, charitable fairies? Like they seem to have no job. And every time they begin opportunities, they squandered it. They squandered Spotify. I think Netflix is out the door too, because Netflix is like, okay, we have other shows that are vastly more popular than you guys are. You guys keep producing documentaries. Now, documentaries can do well, of course they can, but they don't have the longevity necessarily that a scripted show does. Again, documentaries are often one and done. Scripted things can be viewed again. I mean, you can view again documentaries too. I have, but that's not everybody's thing. Because once you find out the mystery of the murder, you might not really care to go back and watch the whole thing again. So Harry and Meghan are setting themselves up for failure time and time again. And everyone in Hollywood kind of knows it at this point. Everyone in Hollywood knows it. And so their job in their most recent iterations of what they're doing is actually to establish a career. And they have yet to do that. And that is the biggest damage, is that people are watching the train wreck of their business decisions. I can't think anybody in Hollywood, the Jenners, the Kardashians, whoever, you have obviously Steven Spielberg. I don't know why his name came to mind, but just thinking about these people, can you imagine their reaction, especially the strong business people and content creators, to American Riviera Orchard and how terribly that's gone off? The name is terrible. It's in trademark hell. Meghan launched it before she had a single product. She sent people jam. You can't make money off jam, really. You can make a little bit, but it's just been an epic train wreck. And it's played out for everyone because Harry and Meghan have made poor decision after poor decision. It's a poor decision to try to look like a statesman and go make a fool of yourself on Jimmy Fallon. It's a poor decision to launch a brand and not have any products for the first 6 months. No, I mean, we don't even have a concept of what the brand is going to be. We have nothing. It's a bad form to promise to deliver material and fail to do that. So that's the other cardinal sin of Harry and Meghan. Again, I would say them going to Colombia. Netflix is like, okay, so are you bringing us anything back from Colombia? Oh no, it's a charity trip. Netflix is like, but we can't make any money off that. So if you're doing this, why aren't you working? Again, they look frivolous. They look like they can't make decisions. They look like they pop off to any place they want to. They are horrible decision makers. And that has all played out for the world to see. They can't ignore it. It's a disaster. And the sooner the two of them realize it and figure out what they're going to do, the better off they'll be at this point, because Harry and Meghan are going to fail because of their own incompetence. And granted, I don't think they deserve any less, but that might mean worse things for the royal family, because the more and more desperate Harry and Meghan get, the more and more stunts they are going to pull to make money, because the two of them desperately need to make money. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of Harry's speech on the Parents Network. I really need to investigate the Parents Network because I just think it's a bit of a smoke and mirrors show, in my opinion. So guys, again, thank you so much. Check out my interview with Dan Woon. It was a lot of fun. So guys, again, I appreciate you watching and I shall see you soon. Bye.